Let me tell you my story.
My skin is always like this.
Let's talk about sex and put an end to fossil fuel exploitation to prevent environmental catastrophe.
Let's talk about sex. My understanding of sex is that it is a sacred, consensual union of two people. Kind of like I was taught in a nursery rhyme. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes the baby in the baby carriage. But most importantly, sex is a choice made by an individual, not a choice made by others. Recently, however, I've been questioning my power as a young woman with choice, because as I learn more and more about the struggles from women's pasts and present, there's this one thing that's been around since the beginning of time, affected all of us, and yet it's rare that we talk about it or even know about it. Some even consider it taboo, and that is sexual assault. I am so lucky to live in a world where I will have the right to vote and the freedom to speak, knowing people will listen. I am proud to make my own choices, whether it's the opinions that I express, the people I surround myself with, or who I'm romantically involved with. And I thought that this was a choice that all women, well, humans, shared. It was a hard day when my eyes were opened. I recently learned that one of my best friends had been sexually assaulted by a man 6 times her age. She was 10 at the time. When this happens to you, your life is forever changed. My life was forever changed. So I stand here in front of you not to tell my story, but to tell the story of every human who feels like they can't. The question I started to ask myself was, well, how many women's stories will I be telling? I will be telling 1 in 5 women's stories today. Can everyone take a moment right now, physically look? How many women do you see? I see my mom. I see my sister. I see my best friends. I'm looking at more than 5 of them. Don't think this doesn't affect you men as well. 1 in 16 men will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. Although 90% of the victims are female, 10% are male. This affects all ages, all races, all genders. The main aspect of my talk is to break the silence that surrounds the subject. And to do this, we have to realize that the people it affects are the people we know, the people we love. Recently told me, people have to start realizing that this crime, it isn't happening in our neighbor's house. It's happening in ours. 15% of all sexual assault victims will be under the age of 12. 29% will be aged 12 to 17. That means that 44% of all sexual assaults will occur under the age of 18. 80% will happen under the age of 30. For bisexual men and women, 50% of them will experience this in their lifetime, while 64% of transgenders will as well. Girls aged 16 to 19 are 4 times more at risk than the general population. And these are numbers from the United States, whose rapes are topped by South Africa and Finland. In the US alone, by the time the speech ends, around 8 women will have been sexually assaulted. 68% of assaults will not be reported. On a college campus, however, more than 90% won't be reported. I'm not even going to go into how terrified I am for my friends and for myself who are going to college in a few months, or how messed up that system. Don't even want to go into it. Rape is the most underreported crime in the world. Your perpetrator will be a friend or acquaintance 73% of the time. So I want to clear up a misconception real quick. The people that are committing these crimes are not like these monsters that come out of alleyways at midnight to prey on you. They are our friends. They are the people we know, the people we trust. 7% of whom are family members. Back to the alleyway at night concept, 50% of all sexual assaults will occur within 1 mile of the victim's home or at their home. Another huge question I started to ask myself is, well, what happens after the fact? Like after you've been assaulted? Is it a one-time thing? Do you forget about it the next day? Your life goes back to normal? Everything's good? Well, if that's not the case, what are the after effects? What are the repercussions? Well, here are more statistics for you. Sexual assault survivors are 3 times more likely to suffer from depression, 6 times more likely to suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, 13 times more likely to abuse alcohol, 26 times more likely to abuse drugs, 4 times more likely to contemplate suicide. This is unacceptable. It is unacceptable that 13% of rape victims will attempt suicide. It is unacceptable that men and women are still raped. And it is most definitely unacceptable that few are doing anything about it. Few are talking about it. Few are standing up for the victims. So why is this still a problem? The answer is silence. Silence on our parts. Silence on the victim's part. Silence on the law's part. Recognizing that this exists and is a reality is the first step we can take in ending sexual assaults. So why do people who have gone through such a horrific event not talk about it? Because we have created and live in a world where we ask these questions when someone confides in us. Well, what were you wearing? Were you drinking? Or, you know what those guys are like. Now, this is something called victim blaming. The definition: victim blaming is a devaluing act that occurs when the victim of a crime is held responsible for the crime that was committed against them. And you probably unintentionally do this. I unintentionally did this. I still catch myself doing it to this day. The main reason that victims don't report is because they are afraid of reprisal. They are afraid that people won't believe them. Please, do not make this mistake. When we victim blame, the person will understandably not want to talk about it. And then they in turn will start to believe that it was somehow their fault. Because those questions that we ask are actually accusations. We live in a world where we teach don't get raped instead of don't rape. And that is what needs to change. Here's another thing that happens with this whole mindset that our society has adapted. We completely diminish the guy's role in this situation. As long as our focus is still on what the victim is doing wrong, nothing will change. We have to focus on the real problem. So what are the solutions? What can we do to ensure that our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids won't have to experience this? Because if we don't do anything about this, we will be leaving it up to them. And this is not a legacy that I want to leave. But the answer, it's hard, especially when trying to figure out the answer in a month, let alone a lifetime. So I started asking teachers, parents, kids, students, military, what is the solution to sexual assault? And there were 3 main things that kept coming up as I asked and researched on the solution. Step 1, breaking the silence. Now, this has been my main goal throughout this talk and the most popular solution within survivor stories. I truly believe that opening up this conversation at home with friends, family, and simply having it on your radar is the first step we can take. And guess what? Just being at this talk has done it for you already. Starting the conversation and creating an environment where survivors feel safe opening up is everything. Every single survivor has said the most important thing our world can do right now is start the conversation. If this one step is achieved and our world makes this a subject that isn't pushed under the rug, everything will change. Survivors will feel safe talking about their story. I will feel safe. More assaults and rapes will be reported. And we can make this a safe world for our kids. Step number 2. I'm not here to tell women what they can and cannot wear. I am here to tell men what they can and cannot do. I don't want to point fingers. I really don't. But the majority of sexual assault is committed by men towards other men and women. What we can do is, for all the parents in the room today, go home, educate your boys on the invaluable trait of listening, respecting, and not degrading women. For all the grown-up guys in the room, when you hear your friend talk about a girl or a woman in a violent, sexual way, stop them, because it's not okay. And trust me when I say that if I hear someone say something racist or homophobic, I will straight up punch them in the face, okay? This needs to apply to this subject as well. If you don't say something, you're just enabling this behavior. Even if you don't know who they're talking about, you don't know the girl, it doesn't apply to you, blah, 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 just know that it is somebody's daughter. And if you don't stop this behavior now, know that it will be yours someday. So stand up for the ladies. Step 3, poster campaign. Out of all the solutions that I've seen been presented, my favorite one comes from the city of Calgary, Canada. This city created a public education campaign targeted towards those who have or will commit sexual assault. They created posters with slogans like, "It's not sex when she's wasted," or "It's not sex when he changes his mind." And they put these posters all over public bathrooms, bar bathrooms, public transport centers. The campaign was so successful that it spread to other cities. In Vancouver alone, the number of reported sexual assaults dropped 10% after the ads were featured around the city. Especially here in Bali, I thought this would be a great way to spread awareness. And we all know how powerful social media is. I don't think there's a better way to spread the word on this topic. So, the idea is to create your own unique poster with a slogan on it, use the hashtag Breaking the Silence, and then share it on social media. The social media aspect can spread across the world, while the poster can help inform your community. I wanted to make this accessible for everyone to get a hold of, so I created a website, an Instagram, and a Facebook. The website is full of information that will help inform and educate. I still have a lot of work to do on this, but without the support of you and others, the assaults will literally never end. We have a responsibility and an obligation not only to ourselves, but to our future generations. A quote that I want to leave you all with today is by the late and great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In the end, we will not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Let's break this silence, because if we don't do anything about this, 1 in 5 of our women, daughters, wives, sisters will be sexually assaulted in their life. We can end this. We can create an amazing future, and we can create an amazing present. Thank you.